This is Foundry Wax. It's a liquid leafing wax that comes in 4 different metallic colors. Now there's a ball bearing inside your bottle, so you definitely want to make sure to shake it up really well before you use it. The silver one is a lot thicker than the other two, so you don't hear the ball bearing quite as much when you're shaking it, but there is still one in there. There are several ways to use Foundry Wax. My favorite is to just use my fingers. I squirt it onto my craft mat and then I just rub it on with my fingers. You could also use a paintbrush to paint different objects. Once you've applied Foundry Wax and it's dried, you'll notice it's got a matte finish. To get the leafing to come to the surface, you'll need to use a heat tool and heat it up, and you'll see that reaction happen. It happens really quite quickly. You can use isopropyl alcohol to thin it out or to clean it up, and it cleans up really easily and nicely. One of my favorite ways to use Foundry Wax is just to spread it on with my finger around a die cut. I will also use the isopropyl alcohol to thin out the Foundry Wax and then put splatters onto that die cut. It just gives a really nice speckled look that shimmers in the light, and it looks really beautiful. Adding Foundry Wax to your embellishments like this really takes them to the next level and elevates them. And once the Foundry Wax has dried on your die cut, you can use your embossing tool and heat it up and let that leafing come to the surface, and it really enhances it. You can also use your fingers and lightly apply it to an embossed cardstock to use as a background for a card. I always start out with a really light touch. That way, if I want to add more, I can add more, but it's something that you can't take excess away if you add it too much. And if you don't want to use your fingers, you can use a brush to lightly brush it onto the surface to get that metallic shine. Foundry Wax has quickly become a staple in my craft room, and I use it on a lot of things. The best part when you use it with brushes is it dries up and it just kind of becomes like dust, so you can just flick it right off the brush. You don't even need to clean it. But you can use it on so many different things, on die cuts, on embossed backgrounds, on inked backgrounds, and you can see how the metallic touch and accent really seems to elevate the cards. You can also use it through a stencil here. Right here it was pounced through a stencil, and once the embossing tool hit it with the heat, that metallic rose to the surface. Here are cards that are created using that background that was done earlier. This one here was done with a collage brush, and you get a nice smooth application over the whole thing. And finally, you can also use it on mixed media projects. So Foundry Wax really has a lot of different uses and applications, and it's a great addition to your supplies.